I grew up in a quote-unquote good Christian home where we learned values and all that kind of stuff. But interestingly, wasn't really called to serve the poor until I was in Africa. So as a 21-year-old college graduate, had an opportunity to volunteer for a local outfit and thought it'd be fun to do that before going off to law school. And I think God knew my stubbornness enough to give me the grace to say, I'm going to take this kid, put him in that environment, and while he's in that environment, just hit him over the head with it. Let him see what he's meant to do. But I wouldn't have gone on that pretense. And if I'm honest with myself now, I went for the adventure. Thought, hey, this will be fun, it'll be interesting. Never been to Africa, this will be an adventure. And once there, it was a series of moments over several months, but a guy asked me the question, we were talking about future, what to do with our lives, that kind of thing. And this guy asked me, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you angry? What pisses you off about the way the world is? And no one had asked me that question before in terms of calling, and that there might be a righteous or a spirit-led instinct to do that. And the context where I was post-war Uganda, 1993, and there was huge need. Hundreds of thousands of people had been killed in that immediate area, and was working with the children, some of the orphans from that, who are becoming friends, not abstract statistics. So when I answered that question in my heart over the next few months, I was like, this is what fires me up. I want to be a part of this. And it's been a neat journey over the past 20 years to realize how God's used me to do that. But at the time didn't know. I just knew this is the space I'm being called to make a difference in somehow. And knew enough at the time that I had a lot to learn. I'm not saying this because of who I'm talking to. Isaiah 58. And that wasn't a verse that I was given in a manual or told, hey, you're going to do relief and development, this is your verse. I was in the bush in central Uganda. This goes back 19 years. And the work we do is hard. I think in abstract, when we're sitting here, it sounds exciting. It sounds like I'm going to change the world, this is going to be a dynamic life. It's hard work. And 80% of the time, it doesn't feel easy. And it's just one of those days I remember is an early morning and was just reading the Bible and literally came to Isaiah 58. And that whole passage inspired me. I already got the first part. I got what God wanted us to do. I got that. But what really gave me strength was the promise God gives us. That if we do these things, if we spend ourselves on behalf of the hungry and the poor, and I felt spent when I was reading that, just tired, that God would be there for us, that the wind would be at our back once we're done with our own energy. So I've carried that one with me for 20 years because the work's hard, and it doesn't always feel exciting. It's just tough, it's a grind sometimes. But I really do believe God's promises are true. And that latter half of Isaiah 58, where our sun will rise with the dawn, and going to get the words a little bit off, but just that the renewal that we're looking for in this country particularly, it's everything that verse talks about. It's the meaning, the redemption, the hope that we're all striving for. So I hang on that one all the time, and in FH as well. It's a verse that means a lot to us. We have 2,600 folks serving in some very extreme environments. So whenever I complain about traffic in the States, it's like, no, you don't get to complain about that. And we really believe that God sustains us to serve in the Sudans and the Congos and the northern Kenyas and the Bangladeshs, because we don't have to have it all figured out, and we don't have the strength to finish the race. God does that if we lean into it. I'll start with the challenges. Probably the biggest challenge we face, probably as a community these days, is the nature of the world, insecurity. It's a lot less predictable than it used to be. So in my job, I have a responsibility for a lot of folks in a lot of pretty crazy places. And it used to be keeping track of kind of major war fronts. Now it could be sitting down for a hamburger in Nairobi, somebody abducted. It's less predictable than it used to be. And it creates a tension which can drag on the energy of an organization. It's careful to keep it in balance, take it seriously, but not have that dominate your viewpoint. So that's just a reality for the whole community. That's been very different recently. I mean, two colleagues of mine abducted into Somalia in the past year, and people I knew individually, and that's just, statistically, that's pretty wild. Yeah, that's a lot. The dynamics of support and funding keep shifting. Yeah, it's a challenge, but there's nothing new to that. Everybody who works in nonprofit ministry, that's just a standard. But there's an exciting thing that's happening around the world. It's not just well, certainly for Food for the Hungry, not just a U.S. effort. You know, it's fun to see new offices. Australia is opening right now with us, some different things. But even more exciting than that, our national offices, fields that we've gone to serve, are now part of raising resources for their own countries. That's huge. And it's big for two reasons. One, because, well, that's fun to see happen, but there's a real justice issue when a population starts giving and caring for its own. And I really do believe that's something God looks for to bless a country. So Guatemalans, Kenyans, you know, getting behind causes in their own country around poverty, really exciting. So our national offices are getting more behind that. What I'm most excited about right now, two things. One, across the nonprofit community, better partnership. I would have to say it's a lot better than it was 10 years ago, and it's light years beyond where it was 20 years ago, and that's encouraging. And if we're going to move the needle on poverty, it's going to require us working together, right? If we're all doing our own little thing, reinventing our own little wheels, big surprise, not a lot changes. But if we recognize our distinctives and our complements to each other and push hard together, that's exciting, and you see some huge changes. So that's where 58 comes in, and others, where it's like the conversation needs to happen. Everything's relational, but once you get those done, you start saying, okay, this isn't just about me and my organization, it's about poverty, it's about justice. We get to work together. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing I'm excited about is just within Food for the Hungry, a global conversation about how to do our work better. And a few months ago, we had 40 leaders from all over the world in one room for 2 days to come up with better ways to articulate our brand to folks. And that's another conversation, but what was so exciting to me were, you know, Sudanese and Rwandans and Dominicans, I mean, going at it, because how you express your core identity is a sensitive thing, but they did it respectfully from the different angles, like, no, in Africa it's like this, in Latin America it's like this, and then the Bangladeshi guys, but in Asia it's like this. And after 2 days we left with this common product that was a product of all these different angles, and that felt a lot like the kingdom of God. That was exciting.